I'm going to talk about creationism versus evolution. And I'm going to tell you my opinion, and it's going to probably be something you've never heard before, and you're going to be a little startled by it. First of all, the definitions of the words are two absolutely different things. The creationism is the starting point, and evolution comes afterwards. There's no such thing as something that evolves into creationism. You can't evolve at the beginning. There has to be creationism. So I obviously I believe in evolution, and I am not a firm believer in creationism. But I have done something that you can also do, which is going to open your eyes to something. So the Bible says, you know, the earth was created in 7 days, and it talks about, it has phrases like, and then there was light, and you know, man was probably on the sixth day or something like that. Well, there's also on Wikipedia a webpage that shows you what evolutionists believe and what scientists believe. And if you read through both and you look at the 7 days of creation as pitched in the Bible and you look at what scientists say happened, you're going to find that they're pretty much the same thing. And what happened was, at the beginning, the earth was, you know, like a giant ball of dust, and it condensed, and it became hardened, and it became a surface, and the dust settled, and water formed, and then the fish formed in the sea, and then the animals moved to the land, and plants probably came before the animals, and then the animals moved to the land, and then after the animals came mankind, and I wrote down, okay, what does creationism say? What does science say? And everything matched up except for one thing, which was when mankind came around. Those were not in the exact same order between creationism and evolution. But, you know, when scientists do it, they're only making estimates. They really don't know for sure. Anybody who tells you that they know, 230,000 years ago, man, you know, that's just nonsense. They don't know that for sure. And I'm going to explain to you why right now. I will explain to you why right now. So I studied to see, well, how do you find Adam and Eve? And there's been a couple theories. There's a theory where, well, there's 4 Eves and 7 Adams or something like that. And based on DNA, they haven't found one Adam and one Eve based on tracing DNA. But the problem is, and it does converge to a point, humanity converges to a point where there suggests there were many people, which is today, becoming fewer and fewer and fewer people until there had to have been perhaps only 2. But the problem with that is that evolution doesn't evolve 2 people. One person comes out of evolution. So that's one of the flaws with evolution. If 2 people evolved for real, it would have happened in different places and at different times. How did they meet each other to continue the evolution? Evolution produces one new being of a species. And how does that being reproduce on its own? We don't know. So the other issue is you have something called the missing link. And I'm going to explain to you what the missing link is. They have evidence, fossils, bones. It's almost all bones, bone fragments. And they look at the bone fragment and they somehow determine, well, this is a certain species from a certain date. Those are the 2 important things that they deduce from finding a fragment. And when they try to determine the date, they come up with estimates that are really subject to interpretation. So this one is 50 million years ago. This one is 100,000 years ago. They could be off by huge numbers. And when they look at what it is, they'll say, okay, this is hominid, this is Neanderthal, the list goes on. But when you look at the evidence that they're actually looking at, it's very rare that they have a complete skeleton. For example, I remember one where it said they had a finger, and based on a finger, they linked 2 species together. And I was like, I don't know how they did it just with one finger. How do you know that that finger is a link between 2 species? I'm sure that carbon dating helps them pinpoint a year. You can go read about that on your own, but it doesn't help you pinpoint a species. And if you look at the geological record, for what they've actually found, the fossils that they've actually found, tracing back through humanity's ancestors, there's not a lot of evidence. You can go on Wikipedia and look at the evidence, and it's rare that they have the complete skeleton. It's often that they only have a few fragments, and they don't have that much evidence at all. It's not like they've got, oh, well, here's 1,000 fossils that have been found that trace a lineage. No, it's not. It's like there's 20, 30, spanning over hundreds of thousands of years. One bone fragment might represent the period of time of 50,000 years before they find another bone fragment. So the fossil evidence that scientists are using to determine evolution of our ancestors is very, 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 very limited.